Do you need an Arabic program which has plenty of support and structure, but is also flexible enough to fit around your busy life? Probably yes. And the good news is you're in luck. Not only do I have a full box of Arabic books to give students for free right here in front of me, but if you join the Arabic in 60 Steps program in the next 5 days, that's before the 9th of March, and then later, if you choose to join Arabic in 60 Steps 2.0, which is launching on the 1st of April, then I will not only reimburse you everything you've paid, I'll reimburse you double everything that you've paid. So if you were to join today, when you do upgrade later on, I'll reimburse you not only whatever you paid today, I'll reimburse you double it. So to find out more, just click the link in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're in the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. Or if you're driving or if you're in the gym or doing the cooking at the moment, you don't want to look at the podcast, then just go to the website, arabicwithsam.com/60. That's the website, arabicwithsam.com/60. So without further ado, let's get on with the podcast. Assalamu alaikum everybody, this is your brother Sam, your Arabic teacher, your favourite Arabic teacher in the entire world, and very warm welcome to episode 23 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. SubhanAllah, time is flying. It doesn't feel like very long ago when we were on episode 1, when we did our introduction episode back in, what was it, September? Maybe September or early October when we did our first episode. We've been going strong every single week. Every single week since then we've been here every Monday for another sort of 20 to 30 minute episode of the podcast, and I have you guys to thank that we've lasted this long and that you guys have been engaging with and enjoying it. So, what on earth are we going to be learning today? So, today, what I thought would be a really nice episode, it was actually suggested by a brother called Farhan on my Instagram. He DM'd me earlier today and suggested this idea for the podcast and said it would be really cool if we'll talk about expressing your beliefs, how to express your beliefs, how to have discussions and stuff in Arabic. So I thought it would be particularly good because at the moment I'm particularly busy with messages from students who are doing the Arabic GCSE at the moment. It sort of comes about this time of year. Arabic GCSE and A-level students start panicking and they start messaging their boy Sam, and saying, how can you help? It's absolutely terrifying, and it is kind of terrifying really, because, this is what, the first year or the second year that the new curriculum's being examined? I think it's the first year that's being assessed, because last summer I actually carried out oral exams for the previous curriculum, and that curriculum was an absolute dinosaur. It had been around for about 20 years, that curriculum. But so it's good they've got a new one, but I just think it's tons harder, and I have distanced myself. I'm free from those guys. I'm free from them. The exam boards for Arabic. I don't really help with it anymore. Have my own program. Have my own students who I adore, who I love to pieces, and who I want to dedicate my life to. So I'm not really dealing with that. But there is a lot of crossover. Obviously my program I do believe is very helpful for students who do the GCSE. It's not a GCSE program, but I do believe it's helpful. And and I think a lot of the content that I put out here on the podcast for free and the YouTube channel as well is a good supplement as well to your GCSE and A-level studies. So and with the GCSE, especially in the oral exam and the written exam, the real top marks are for kind of giving opinions and then reinforcing those opinions. Being able to develop an opinion, be able to develop a view. And so a lot of the vocabulary, a lot of the verbs and nouns and the kind of phrases that we piece together in this episode will be very helpful for that. So usually I like to start with verbs, because when we start with verbs, we can kind of draw out nouns that come from those verbs. But we're going to do it the other way around this time. We're just going to try out a different way. We're just going to come across some concepts and some words that are useful for this discussion, and I'll kind of give my own kind of commentary as we go. So there are a number of different words really for an opinion or a view on something. The most common word for it is probably a ra'i. A ra'i, or literally when you say ra'i, my opinion, it's actually the same word. It's just when you have ra'i, meaning a opinion, you'd have like ra'iyun, you'd have like an on the end if it's a opinion. If it's my opinion, it's just ra'i. And that's just an opinion. It comes from the verb ra'a, and then in the mudari' is yara. It's perhaps, it's often referred to as sort of the only real irregular verb in Arabic. There aren't any other verbs that behave the way that it does, with having a hamza in the middle and an alif maqsura on the end. So an opinion, that's kind of the first word, is a ra'i. There is also, you also do kind of have, you can also sometimes say, in my view. You can say fi nadari. And what's very common is having this word mujarrad before it. You say mujarrad nadari. It means like merely my opinion. It's just my opinion. You know, if you say like, this is just my opinion, هذا مجرد نظري. This is just my view. This is my mere opinion. Yeah, that's a very kind of that's a very useful that's just a very useful expression to say for you, you know, هذا مجرد نظري. This is my mere opinion. Good. So the things that I wanted to raise really are like, because in Arabic it always sort of confused me as a beginner how in Arabic you have different words for believing something or for thinking something depending on how certain you are of it. And it's not that much different to us in English. It's just, you know, when I would kind of search or ask my teachers how to say I think something or I believe something, I was given a whole load of different words, and I wanted us to run through those. So, you know, there is a term ظن, and I was kind of taught when you say, oh, I think something, to say أنا أظن, and in Aramiya they put a little bird before it, أنا بظن, or something like that. And أنا أظن, and the term ظن. And that does mean to think something. You know, أنا أظن means I think, or I did think something, and ظننت, I thought something. But it's a very kind of weak opinion about something. Like it's more about if you suspect something, or if you think something and then you were wrong. You know what I mean? It's, you know, yeah. If you turned out to be wrong about something, you would say, you know, yeah, ظننت ذلك, that's what I thought. You know, but I turned out to be wrong later. You know, that's kind of what you use ظن يظن for. And ظن itself really means sort of suspicion. It can mean, you know, I know, you know how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hujurat, inna ba'da dhanni ithm. You know, some dhann is ithm. Some dhann, some suspicions are harmful. The actual whole ayah is saying to the believers, ijtanibu kathiran min adh-dhann. Stay away from dhann. Stay away from having suspicions. Really, it's an ayah about having suspicions of people, like not spying on people and stuff like that. But so that's one way to say that you kind of believe something, is around the concept of dhann and adhunnu. I think this, if it's not a particularly strong view. You know that there is another verb which we'll come on to into more detail when we go in the verbs, but there is a verb like i'tiqad is a noun that comes from the verb i'taqada. And your i'tiqad is your belief. You know, fi i'tiqadihim, in their belief. And that interestingly actually comes from the same root as the word for like a knot, an aqd. Which is interesting, isn't it? That you know your beliefs are something that's kind of tight. You hold tight to it. It's like a knot. Your i'tiqad is your beliefs, but and it's actually also related to the term aqidah. Your aqidah is a term that you use in kind of Islamic sciences for, you know, it's a matter of aqidah. It's a matter of what you believe. I haven't heard the term aqidah be referred to other religions, be referred to like the beliefs of the Jews and the Christians. I've heard i'tiqad to be used for those beliefs. Yeah, so we have like i'tiqad, and then we have the term aqidah. We have the word dhann and nadhr and mujarrad and ra'i. So another really useful word is the verb niqash, for a discussion. Niqash. We'll come on to the verb naqasha, which is kind of to have a discussion about something. But niqash. And niqash is quite similar to the word munadhara. Munadhara, I think, translates better to debate, and then niqash is a discussion. I think that's kind of the way that those two words are, those words are translated. So next, if we were to go through kind of how severe you believe something, you know, we talked about the concept of dhann, then we talked about i'tiqad, probably to say that you're certain about something. There's this word muta'akkid, and it is related to in Aramiya, and even in Fusha as well, when people say akid, it's like certainly, sure, akid la, you know, definitely not, akid la. You know, you hear that in Aramiya probably more commonly than you do in Fusha, but it is a fasih word. But this term muta'akkid, say ana muta'akkid, I am certain of this, or if you say I am not certain, ana lastu muta'akkidan, that's a nice little one to drop. It sounds particularly Fusha. Ana lastu muta'akkidan, I am not certain. And then the next word that I wanted to share is the word mawqif. Your mawqif is kind of your stance or your position on something. Yeah, موقفي. هذا موقفي. This is my stance. Your موقف from the verb وقف. It's yeah, nice little beginning week verb. You learn about those in step 16 on my program. Yeah, وقف. I mean to kind of stop, to stop something. Good. And then before we go on to the verbs, I just wanted to offer a little phrase, really. This is particularly useful for GCSE students, I think, who are kind of compare and contrasting. Those of you guys who live in the UK, you probably remember when we did our GCSEs, there's always like a compare and contrast question in the GCSE exams. You have to say, like, you know, on one hand, some people argue this, and on the other, people argue this. And in Arabic, they say min wajh, like min wajhin, or min wajhin ukhra. They say, like, from one face and from the other face. That's kind of how it's said in Arabic. You don't really say min yed on one hand. You don't really say like ala yeddin, like upon a hand. You don't say on one hand and on the other hand. In Arabic, you say from one face, which is kind of which kind of literally makes a bit more sense than what we say in English. I think, like, from one direction it's this, and then from another direction it's this. Do you know what I mean? You see something from another point of view. That's kind of what it's saying in Arabic. So. Yeah, so min wajh, like on one hand, كذا وكذا, you know, whatever you're going to argue. ومن وجه أخرى, كذا وكذا, right? So that's kind of how you say on one hand and on the other. So we'll come into some verbs, and then we'll kind of, as I'm using these verbs, I'll bring in the vocab I've learnt already to kind of give you guys some phrases, and we'll build them. We'll build them out a little bit as we, as we get through them, inshallah. So the first verb that I thought would be useful is actually just a recap of the verb shariha. Shariha. You'll often, in like Islamic texts, you often have like a sharh of something. It's like an explanation of something. If you have like I don't know, whatever book, whatever book. You could even have a sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari. You can have sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. Have like the explanation of the Sahih of Bukhari. But the verb shariha is used to explain something. So you can say something like أنا سوف أشرح موقفي. I will explain my position. أريد أن أشرح موقفي. I want to explain my position. Yeah, so that's obviously really useful too. Another one I have written down is is from the verb أقنع. And also the verb اقتنع actually as well, because they're very similar, and often those two verbs get confused because they obviously sound similar and have the same root letters. But the verb أقنع means to convince, but really to convince someone else. If you are convinced yourself, you use اقتنع. You say أنا مقتنع. I am convinced, and with either of those, you tend to use the preposition be. If you're going to say I am convinced of it, أنا مقتنع بها. أنا مقتنع عفوا. مقتنع. أنا مقتنع بها. I am convinced of it. That's when you use مقتنع. I am convinced. And usually you say that you're convinced that something, don't you? Right? So أنا مقتنع بأن كذا وكذا. I am convinced that blah blah blah. So that's quite nice actually. Yeah, أقنع though is to convince someone else. سوف أقنع, I will convince, whatever, right? Whatever you're convincing a person of. Cool, what else do we have? I talked about the verb اعتقد. I talked about it, but we'll perhaps just put in a few sentences. So أعتقد means like I believe something. It's stronger than أظن, right? You can say أنا أظن أن, I believe that, but أنا أعتقد أن is a little bit stronger, saying أعتقد, and then أنا أتأكد is even stronger than that, right? If you take the verb تأكد and say أنا أتأكد, I'm, that's like that, I'm certain of something. It's kind of saying like I think, I believe, and then I'm certain. أنا أظن, أنا أعتقد, and أنا أتأكد. Very nice. Okay, cool. We talked about the verb ناقش. It's a form of 3 verb, which is why the masdar is the word niqash, which we've already talked about, meaning a discussion. And then, I'll also raise something that might be a question in your minds as well, because I know that when I started learning about believing things, I was like, well, we know the word iman is belief, or like faith in something. And but you don't really use the verb amana, be something. You don't really use that when you're talking about like debates. That's only really used for like belief if there's like faith involved somehow, but belief in al-ghaib, the unseen, somehow is when you use amana. Even though in English we kind of use all of them, like when you say something like I believe you, or I believe it's a really good thing, and we used to say like I believe in Allah, like we use believe for all of those things, but Arabic has its nuances for different things you believe in, and the depth to which you believe in those specific things. So yeah, I wanted to mention that the verb amana isn't really used when you're having a debate or a discussion about something or expressing your opinions. Very nice. Yeah, that's all the verbs that I wanted to mention. There is another word though. I wanted to mention, like, because I was thinking to myself when I just spent a bit of time prepping this and thinking about what words I wanted to share with you. I thought when I've had debates in Arabic, when I've had discussions in Arabic, you often want to when you disagree with someone, there's a verb ittafaqa. So and it means to agree, but you also use it to disagree with something. Yeah, la attafiqu bik. I don't agree with you. You tend to use the preposition bi with it. I know in English we say with, so you might expect it to be ma. But yeah, I've never heard people say la attafiqu ma'ak. I don't know really I don't know what the implications of that would be, but I've definitely heard people say la attafiqu bik. And we agree is ittafaqna. We have agreed, right? Ittafaqna. And that's very, very common. Yeah. Ittafaqna. La attafiqu bik. And another way of kind of saying, like, on the contrary, you say bil'aks. Bil'aks. If someone puts an argument forward to you about, whatever, you can say bil'aks. La attafiqu bik. On the contrary, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with that. Yeah, so yeah, bil'aks is a really good one to kind of store in your phrases bank. Bil'aks. And then the last one, I think we've probably actually already mentioned this actually, but it's about using the word ra'i. Because when you ask someone what their opinion is, you can say ma ra'yuka, what's your opinion? And I think from an English context, we're tempted to say ma ra'yuka an. For example, al-qadiyyah al-Falastiniyya, like the Palestinian issue or something like that. But in Arabic, you don't. You say ma ra'yuka fi something. You say what's your position, like, in it. What's your view in it? That's a lot more common. And actually, you actually say that with qala as well. Like another kind of a synonym for that is asking someone وَمَاذَا تَقُولُ فِي, and what do you say about this and that. I've seen that in a few sort of historical dramas before in Arabic. People saying وَمَاذَا تَقُولُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. I'm like, what do you say about the salah? Or like وَمَاذَا تَقُولُ فِي الزَّكَاةِ, and what do you say about the zakah? Yeah, so those are just a few notes, because that's really common to be asked in your exams, or to be expected to ask in your exams. مَا رَأْيُكَ فِي ذَلِكَ الْمَوْضُوعِ, and what do you think about that issue? Or مَا رَأْيُكَ فِي whatever, whatever. ما رأيك في تعليم البنات في Afghanistan, or something like, what's your opinion on girls' education in Afghanistan or something, or whatever it is, whatever topics you're having a discussion or debating. So in that episode of the podcast, I think we covered about maybe 15 to 20 new words, which is what I usually aim for in these episodes. And so hopefully that's been useful for you, inshallah. Please get in touch with me for any particular topics you would like me to cover in upcoming episodes. We can move back towards Grammar Town, and we can move towards Grammar Town and do some more grammar, or we can go to Amiyya World, as I mentioned in last week's episode, where we do little bits of Amiyya, drop bits of Amiyya in there if it's useful for you guys. But so just keep in touch with me, inshallah. Let me know. Follow me on Instagram. It's usually pretty good to get in touch with me through my DMs on Instagram. I'm usually pretty good at responding to those DMs, so that's cool. Or if you're on YouTube, just drop something in the comments, inshallah. I'll try my very best to get back to you, or at the very least, I'll look at it. At the very, very least, I do my best to respond to absolutely everything. But obviously, people who are on my program have the priority over my time, obviously, because they pay the bills. So So that's everything for this episode, inshallah. Last thing I'll just say is that wherever you're listening to the podcast, please share it, help other people reach it, and that would really, really help me out, inshallah. If you're on YouTube, obviously it's very easy to kind of comment and like and share and subscribe, but whatever other platforms you're listening on, especially if it's iTunes, actually, I think you can leave me a rating on iTunes, and you can leave a review and stuff on iTunes. I'd really appreciate that if you do that. yeah, and that's everything for the podcast. Don't forget, if you are interested in joining the 60 Steps program, there are many, many rewards for you if you join at this point. If you do join in the next sort of 5 days, or before the 9th of March of this year, 2019, then you are a very special person, because, not a very special Persian, and then he said that you're a very special person, because that kind of first 6 months of students, people who joined from the 9th of September 2018 to 9th of March 2019, I think you guys should be rewarded immensely for being kind of early adopters of my program, and people who have wanted to be part of what I'm trying to build, and people who have wanted to come on board early. So if you guys want to upgrade later, as I mentioned earlier, you guys will get a massive discount and incentive to upgrade. But even if you don't, I would like to just be giving you guys something, because I think you guys should be rewarded. I should treat you guys well. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed episode 23. Don't forget to put it in your diary to come back next Monday to enjoy episode 24 of the podcast. And I'll catch you guys then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.